I have 3 divided by x squared minus 2x minus 120. We're asked to find the domain of this function. This type of problem is very typical in this class, finding domain of functions. Very typical. So what do you think we have to do here? Yes? Say it again. Awesome. That's the first step. This is what I would have said myself. Thank you. Now, if it takes too long to factor, I don't want you to spend 10 minutes on factoring this. Forget it. Just do what else? Quadratic formula. Thank you, Shelby. Exactly. Set it equal to 0. Do we know the factor form like this, or we need time? But if we need too much time, then yes? So x minus 12 and x plus 10. Perfect. The product is negative 120 and the sum is negative 2. Very good. Thank you very much. So then the next step would be x not equal and x not equal. We know this from test 1, right? When we solved rational equations, right? Good. So then what will I have to write? Very good. Awesome. So then I know the domain. So this was my preliminary work. I had to do this legwork to find what x cannot be so that I can write what x can be. So now I'm ready to write what x can be. What will I write? Domain is? Very good. Indeed. This is exactly what it means. Everything but negative 10 and 12. Awesome. You will set that equal to 0 and write negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. So you will write x squared minus 2x minus 120 equals 0, and then you write the quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And you will definitely get the same solutions. And you will exclude them from the domain. Better? Yes. Perfect. Number 2, we have g of x, which is the square root of x minus 5 divided by x minus 8. Again, it's the same type of question. What is the domain of g? But this is a more complicated situation. Why is it a more complicated? It's slightly more complicated. Why is it? Because this is a ratio of 2 functions, and the top one is square root. And the bottom is a linear function. Good. So there are 2 possible situations here that I have to avoid. And those 2 situations will give us the domain. So what do I have to write for this function? What is the obvious thing that I have to write? Very good. So that's that x minus 8 cannot be 0. In other words, to solve and say that x cannot be 8. Correct. That's the first condition. Well, what is the other condition that I have to write? Yes. Anyone? That's okay. Anyone? Awesome. Can anyone other than Leon say why? Why do I have to write that? Yes, because the numerator has a square root, and the quantity under the square root, no matter what it is, in this case x minus 5, must be positive or 0. Correct. Otherwise, I will not be able to take the square root from it. Correct? We know that? Yeah. Yes? Yes? Everyone? Good. So then I solve this, and I get x greater than or equal to 5. And I solve this, and I get x not equal 8. So now on the real line, you don't have to graph it. I'm graphing it to explain what we're doing. But there is no need to graph it. So the first one says 5 and greater. So I don't care for units. 5 and greater is this. But the second one says whatever except 8, not 8. So then I'm ready to write the domain of function g. Can anyone give us a domain of function g? Yes? Yes? Very good. That's it. This is a domain of function g. Awesome. Well done. Okay, problem 3. Any questions on this? Any questions on this? Anyone? Jesse, are you okay? Is this okay? Good. Awesome. Next one. We are given two functions, f and g. So here's f equals x minus 5, and here's g, 3x squared minus 5. We're asked to find f comma g and g comma f and evaluate both when x is 0. I'm going to determine them and then evaluate right away. So first, let's find f comma g of x. This is by definition f of g of x. We know that. We agree. Is everything okay so far? Okay. Remember, you don't have to do this. I'm just making a point. So this is f of g of x. I have to replace g by what g equals to. Now I'm looking at f. I have to do what f wants me to do. What does f want me? What does f want me to do? Exactly. Whatever minus 5. So what will I write? This is whatever, and then minus 5. So this is 3x squared minus 10. This is f comma g. Since I'm here and I have the function, I would like to find f comma g of 0. What does that equal to? Exactly. The function is here. I have it. It's done. Negative 10. Very good. Perfect. Now we want to find g comma f of x. Is this okay? Good. I write a definition so I don't have, so I try to at least try to avoid not making a mistake. Do not cross this out like that. I'm just making a point, telling you what I'm doing next. I'm replacing f by x minus 5. At this point, I have to stop and look at g and identify what g is telling me to do. What does g say? Exactly. 3, whatever squared, minus 5. So now please tell me how to write this. Three. Very good. Awesome. That's it. Is that clear? It's 3 blah squared minus 5. Good. Now, was there any meeting, any session that we had in which we did not have to square binomial? I don't think there was. That's why we did this on the very first day of classes, because there is no escape. Good. So 3. What do I write when I square x minus 5? And that's why I didn't want us to FOIL, constantly FOIL, every 5 minutes FOIL. It's okay. You'll get full credit, but I just wanted to move away from that. That's it. It saves time. It helps us understand how to factor going backwards. It's a very good concept. Okay, so 3x squared, now I can distribute. Minus 30x plus 75 minus 5 is plus 70. Now we want g comma f of 0 because it's on the list. They're asking us to find g comma f of 0. And what will that be? Very good. And that was problem 3. Any questions? Problem 4. We are given a function, which is h of x, which is the 6th root of x to the 7th minus 4. They want us to decompose. It says, express the given function h as a composition of two functions, f and g, where one of the functions is such and such. So what I would like to determine is the inner and the outer. So what is the inner function? If you were asked to evaluate this function for x equals 10, which operation from what you see will be performed first? What will be the inner function? Good. Minus 4. When we're done and we get one simple number here, which function do we apply to that number? This is x. Which function I have? The 6th root of x. Very good. That's it. Any questions?
So g of x is the outer function?
The inner function will be g of x. Very good question. Let's take a look. Let's take a look here, the way they are presented. You can name them the way you like. But if you want to keep the notation in the book, that's why I didn't even bother with their notation. This is the inner and this is the outer. The inner has to be the closest to x. So if you want f comma g of x to be this one, this must be the inner, is the first function we apply. Let's go back here. From g comma f, which one is the inner? F, of course, is the closest to x. So in f comma g, g will be the inner, so this will be g of x. And this will be the last one that we apply, which will be f of x. Very good question, Ellie. Is this okay? Good. Thank you. Any questions? So again, I'm fine if you just write inner and outer. I know what you mean. Now, if you want to identify them and name them, then you have to name them according to this. F and G. Any questions, or we move on? We move on? Okay. Is there traffic or something? Is everyone okay? Well, I'm glad you're here. Okay, so we're given f of x, which is 7x minus 1. We're asked to find, ladies and gentlemen, please, thank you, welcome. So we're asked to find f inverse. We're asked to graph f and f inverse in the same coordinate system. Joseph, please. Yes, ask me.
I'm just saying the order with that. I'm not, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm not upset because you're late. I'm happy you're back. But please stop talking. Please.
Right.
Use interval notation to give the domain and the range of f and f inverse. Good. So now here's my first question. This is a linear function, correct? Is it one-to-one? Because if you say it's not one-to-one, it doesn't have an f inverse. Is it one-to-one? By the horizontal line test, we know that. The linear function, right, either with a positive slope or a negative slope, is one-to-one by the horizontal line test. Awesome. So it has an f inverse. Correct? Good. First step towards finding f inverse. Awesome. Y equals 7x minus 1. Step 2. Very good. We are allowed to do that. This is the only case that I can think of in algebra in which we do this. Step 3. Solve for y. Very good. So I'm moving 1, and I'm dividing by 7. We're moving 1 to the other side, and we divide by 7. And number 4, last step, I replace the notation y by what I'm looking for. What am I looking for? F inverse. So it's done. So I determined F inverse for this particular function. It's also a linear function. Now, the problem is also asking us to find the domain and range for both. We don't need to graph to find the domain and range of a linear function. So what is the domain of F? Domain of a linear function. Of course, it's a polynomial function, first degree. What is the range? Picture a linear function in your minds and say, oh, the range is, of course. Linear function has all real numbers, domain, and range. Of course, this one will have the same, the domain of F inverse, negative infinity to infinity, and the range of F inverse, negative infinity to infinity. This is always the case for linear functions. It's not the case for quadratic, but it's always the case for linear. Perfect. So now we're asked to graph. So I will start with the function, which is y equals 7x minus 1. How many points do I need to graph a linear function? Of course. And please always look for the x and y intercepts. So when x is 0, how much is y? Of course. Thank you. When x is 0, y is negative 1. 0, negative 1. When y is 0, let's calculate. 0 equals 7x minus 1. Move 1 to the other side. So x equals 1/7. And you can say, and I will agree with you, isn't that difficult to graph or plot 1/7? Why wouldn't I use the slope and find another point? I will agree with you. But the x and y intercepts are the most important points. So I'm going to give it my best shot at plotting 1/7. Of course, it's not going to be exact. Good. I'm going to plot 0, negative 1 right here. And 1/7. And you're going to say, well, bear with me and say that that's 1/7. Of course, it's not. So this is the graph of f of x, which is 7x minus 1. What else do I have to graph when I graph the function and its inverse on the same coordinate system? There is something that goes together with both. Y equals, very good, the line y equals x. The line y equals x. Why? Because this point will not move anywhere. It's a point where the function crosses y equals x. Now I need 2 points so I can graph the inverse. And no, I'm not going to calculate anything. I would like you to come up with 2 points that I will plot to graph the inverse. No calculations are required. Correct. How do I know that? If the function is applied to 0 and returns negative 1, the inverse function must be applied to negative 1 and will return 0. Exactly. So this point is right here. They have to be symmetric. This and this have to have the same distance from the line of symmetry. And this one is 1/7, so it goes this way. So here is the inverse function. And I did not calculate anything for it. And this is x plus 1 over 7. Of course, my graph is not perfect. Forgive me. Any questions? Any questions? Is this okay? Okay. Do you recognize these problems from solving them in class? Okay. Well, I hope you go back to all your notes. They're all posted, and you look again, please. So here we are given two tables, and we are asked to find F inverse of G of 8. So we're given this information, and we're asked to find F inverse of G of 8. Where do I start? Where's the starting point? Awesome. That's exactly why I show this, and I advise you not to cross it out, just to remember that that's the starting point. Very good. So this is F inverse of -6. Do you all agree with -6? We do? Yes? Good. So now we are asked to find F inverse of -6. So here's the question. Do I have a table for F inverse? No. So then I have to think in the following terms. Okay. There exists a number that we apply F to get what? According to what you see here. To get? What do you think? -6. Because I want to apply F inverse to -6 and to get this number back. I don't have any information for F inverse, but I have a table that says that there must be a number that I apply F to get -6. That's all I have. I have the table for F. Is there a number that I apply F to get -6? 7. So then in this little box, I must have 7. So then what is the final answer for F inverse of -6? Right. Because we know this from the previous problem, right? That if the function has the ordered pair 0, -1, what will be the inverse what will be the ordered pair for the inverse function? Correct. So from the table, if I see 7, -6, what will be the ordered pair for the inverse function? -6, 7. That's how we get the 7. Yes, Joseph, please, go ahead.
Why did you name my house?
You mean G of 8?
Ah.
You want to look at the table?
Oh.
You need me?
Ah, okay.
Okay. Any questions? Anyone? Okay. Find the distance between 2 points. So -4, -4. And the other one is 5, -3. We're asked to find the distance. Please remember the formula. x2 minus x1, everything squared, plus y2 minus y1, everything squared. And we agreed when we looked at this in chapter 2, we agreed that no one will write on this test or the final exam something like this. The distance equals the square root of -47, correct? Why? Because this is what type of number? Because it's squared. Positive. This is what type of number? Because it's squared. And we're adding two positive numbers. There is no way by adding two positive numbers we get a negative number under the square root. Agreed? Okay. Good. So I label them. This is the method I like to apply. You apply the method you like. So this is x1, y1, and this is x2, y2. I write them underneath, which means 5 and -4, -3 and -4. So now I write a distance as being the square root of 5 minus -4. What is that? Exactly, which is 9 squared. Perfect. We are here now with plus. -3 minus -4. Negative 3 minus negative 4. 1. 1 squared. Good. So then the distance is the square root of 82. If you try to factor that into 2 times 41, 2 is not a perfect square, 41 is not a perfect square. There's nothing else we can do here. And the problem is asking us to approximate. So you will put it in the graphing calculator and you will approximate. I just had difficulties with the computer and I turned this one off. So the square root of 80, the square root of 82, it says approximate to 2 decimal digits. I would write 9.06, approximately 9.06.
Hold on, why don't you
Yes?
why don't you put 9 plus 1?
Very good question. So,
Did you say that?
yes, it's a very good question. Let me explain the answer.
No, I'm saying, did you previously say that?
Why didn't I write the square root of 81 plus the square root of 1?
No, yeah.
Okay, so if you remember when we looked at this formula for the distance, we said that the square root of a squared plus b squared can never be changed into the square root of a squared plus the square root of b squared. That's not possible. Because this means, for example, let's say 9 plus 4 is to power 1/2. We cannot split this into the square root of 9 plus the square root of 4. So that's why we don't simplify this. No one can simplify this. For the same reason why we cannot separate 81 plus 1. The square root of 81 will be 9, the square root of 1 will be 1. But 1 plus 9 is 10, and this is the square root of 82, which is not 100. So we cannot separate the radical if the quantity under the radical is a positive sum of terms or a difference of terms. If it's a product or a ratio, that is allowed and it's correct, but not if it's a sum. So the square root of 9 plus 4 does not equal the square root of 9 plus the square root of 4. This is the square root of 13, this is 3, and this is 2. 5 does not equal the square root of 13. But yes, the square root of 9 times 4 is the square root of 9 times the square root of 4. This is the square root of 36, and this is the square root of 9 is 3, and this is 2. The square root of 36 is 6, and this is 3 times 2. That will work. And the same thing for a ratio, 9 divided by 4, but not for a sum of terms or difference of terms. It doesn't work. So that's why we have to add and then take the square root. Very good. Thank you. Number 8. We are given negative 4, comma, negative 7, and we are given negative 1, comma, negative 8. In this problem, we are asked to find the midpoint, the coordinates of the midpoint. And if you remember, the coordinates of the midpoint are determined how? Over 2, the average of, awesome, thank you both. So negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5, so this is negative 5 halves.
Can you write the formula?
Yes, it's the average of x's, x1 plus x2 over 2, and y1 plus y2 over 2. Sure. So then we add the y value, so this is negative 15 divided by 2. I cannot stress enough, please redo the problems we did in class in preparation for the test. So you have practiced at least that. And I'm hoping you finish the homework as much as you can. Next problem, any questions for me, please? Anything? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, we are given a center of a circle, and we are given the radius. We're asked to come up with the equation of the circle that has this center and this radius. If you remember the distance formula, you will never forget the circle formula. Here's the equation of the circle. because they are the same. It's just the notation is slightly different. X minus h everything squared plus y minus k everything squared equals the radius squared. The distance formula has different notation and it has a square root, but they are identical. That's how we developed the equation of the circle, from the distance formula. Okay, so can anyone dictate how to write the equation of this circle? Very good, squared, awesome, plus. Awesome, thank you both, equals. Perfect. What if I'm asked to also graph this? How will I graph it? I will plot the center, and then I will create 4 points. How many units away from the center? Exactly 5. Awesome, well done. So I'll plot the circle. So here it is. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 units to the right means 3 and 2 more. 5 units down, it means 1 more. I'm going to go outside of SUC. I didn't plan ahead. Don't do that. I used too big of a unit. So this is -3, 4. Okay, next problem. We are given a function. Can anyone tell us what type of function this is? -0.1 x squared plus 0.6 x and plus 5. What type of function is this? Awesome, thank you. This is a quadratic function. Does it have a max or a min? Of course, because the leading coefficient is. Awesome, great job. Good, so now let's read the problem. What is the maximum height? Part B, how far does the ball travel horizontally before hitting the ground? And then graph. I'm not going to ask you to graph this exactly. I just want a rough graph. Okay, I don't care for details for the graph. Okay, so how do I find the maximum of such a function? We established it's quadratic. We established it has a maximum. But now we want to know how to find it. How to find the maximum. That will be the X-intercepts. So I'm right here throwing the ball up in the air, and eventually will hit the ground. A few feet away from me, it will reach a maximum. So I will have to find that. And then I will have to find how high it goes. And then eventually, how far away from me it will hit the ground again. So what do we do? How do we find the maximum of such a function?
Finding the height, correct?
I cannot find the height before I find something else, though. I cannot find the y value before I find the x value. But yes, we are finding the height, correct. What do we have to do? Not yet. No, the quadratic formula will solve the equation y equals 0. We need to do something else first. And what are we really asked to find? Exactly, thank you very much. Every time we talk about a max or a min of a quadratic function, we have to find the vertex. Exactly, that's all it is. Good. How do I find the x-coordinate of the vertex? Thank you, Shelby. You helped us. Of course. It's -b/2a. This is from the quadratic formula. Please remember that. So negative, what is the top? What is b?
0.6.
Very good. What is 2 times a? minus 0.2. Very good. Awesome. You understand that the answer cannot be negative, right? So how many feet away from me the ball will reach its maximum? It cannot be a negative number. And the maximum cannot be a negative number as well. So then the answer here is, it's 6 divided by 2, which is 3 feet. I'm sorry? 2 times A. A is negative 0.1 times 2 is negative 0.2. The negative in front from the formula with a negative in the denominator. You should always. Okay. My calculus class had a test on Monday, and they found that time is negative 3 seconds. Do you accept time being negative 3 seconds? It's not allowed. It's not possible. It's not possible. Okay, good. So I throw the ball up in the air. 3 feet away from me will reach its maximum. But now I want to find the maximum. Exactly. Awesome. That's all I need you to say. This will be f of 3, correct? So f of 3 equals negative 0.1 times 9, because I squared 3, plus 0.6 multiplied by 3, and plus 5. So I'll calculate this, or you can do it by hand. Negative 0.9 and plus 1.8 and plus 5. I got 5.9. Let me know if you got anything else. Feet. Please remember the measurement unit. On all problems, on any test, please write the measurement unit. So this is 5.9. So what will you write then? That the ball reaches a maximum height of, perfect. How far away from where I throw it up in the air? 3 feet away. Awesome. Now the final question here, I shouldn't say the final, the next question here is asking us how far from where I threw it up in the air it will hit the ground. What am I asked to find now? Very good. Awesome. How do I find the x-intercepts for any function? Awesome. Set y equal to 0. Negative 0.1 x squared plus 0.6 x plus 5 equals 0. I think you know me quite well, and you'll tell me what I would do next. Thank you. I would definitely do that. Why? Because I may forget to multiply the denominator by negative or put a negative in the denominator. Who knows? So that's my habit. You develop your own, and if you don't want to multiply both sides by -1, you will still get the same answer. And you'll get the same credit. What is the method that we will use in this case to solve for x? We have 4 methods. Oh, absolutely. There is nothing else in this case. Negative b. .6. Negative b. 0.6. Plus or minus the square root of 0.6 squared minus, say it again, minus 4 times a, which is 0.1, times negative 5. I don't want to put too many parentheses. I will change this into positive. Over 2 times a. Say it again. Yes, because otherwise you cannot put the multiplication symbol and the negative symbol one next to the other. You're going to subtract by mistake instead of multiplying. Be careful. So instead of making that error or having too many nested parentheses, I'd rather make the adjustment. So now let's go back to the graphing calculator and put parentheses around the top, 0.6 plus the square root. I put parentheses just to make sure, but The software may not require this anymore. I'm old-fashioned, as you know already. Plus 5 times 4 is 20 times 0.1 is 2. You don't have to calculate that. It was easier for me to do that. And divide by 0.2. How many feet from where I'm standing and throwing the ball up in the air will it hit the ground over there? 10.68 feet. What about the other solution? The other solution is behind me, and the negative side. So let's do that. Let's find it. But who cares about it? So I'm going to change positive into negative. And I get a negative value, and I don't care about it. So then go back. So I will say, this is my graph. All I want you to write is this, 3 feet. This, 5.9. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I didn't copy it. It's 10.68 feet. Sorry. 10.68. 10.68. And what is this?
That's 5.
Exactly. And how much is this? Let's go back to the function. 5. 0, 0, 5. You're not required to choose anything from the graphs, but let's just look at them. You're not required to do any of this. Okay, this one starts at somewhere between 15 and 20, so this is definitely disqualified. This one starts at the origin, completely disqualified. This one starts at 15 or below, disqualified, so this must be the only one. Again, I'm not asking you to do that. There is no need for that. Okay, number 11. Any questions on this problem? Any questions on this problem? Yes?
Where do the 5, that's the initial before it starts? Like,
Say it again?
5 is where the
Yes, because I don't throw it from here. I throw it from here.
from where you stand, right?
Yes. So when x is 0, y is 5. Very good. So we have x to the 5th plus 10x cubed minus 11 divided by x minus 1. We're asked to use the synthetic division and divide these two. Okay, so can I use synthetic division first of all? Yes. What goes in the box?
I know.
Careful. 1. What is the degree of the top? Good. Is there any missing term?
Yes.
Good. So which coefficient do I start with? 1. The next one. Very good. Next one. Very good. Next one. Perfect. Next one. Very good. And the last one? Very good. Perfect. Degree 5, degree 4, degree 3, degree 2, degree 1, degree 0. Awesome. Well done. Good. So, any questions? Okay, now what?
Yeah.
Say it again. Degree 5, degree 4 is missing. Degree 3 is here. Degree 2 is missing. Degree 1 is missing. And degree 0. Is that okay? No, I mean, if it's not, let me know. Okay, so any polynomial of any degree, if it's degree 5, it has to have 6 terms. If it's degree 3, it has to have 4 terms. In this case, it's degree 5. It has to have 6 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If it doesn't, and it's a missing term, I have to write 0. Is that okay, everyone? Good. The next step. We bring 1 down. 1 times 1. We perform the operations we see. We see 0 plus 1, it's 1. 1 times 1. 10 plus 1.
11.
Awesome. 1 times 11. 0 plus 11. 1 times 11. 0 plus 11. 1 times 11. Box in. What do I box in? Does that mean that x minus 1 is a factor of the top or not? It is. Because the remainder is, that's it.
Oh,
We have to redo it.
can you go by the 16,
We
please?
have to redo it.
Come on. Something's
We have
not
to
right.
redo it.
Have you looked at any of the examples?
I did. But this is
Good.
what?
Okay. It's the same thing. It's a repeat of the same thing. 1 times 1 is 1. Perform the operation. 1 times 1 is 1. Perform the operation. 1 times 11 is 11. Perform the operation. 1 times 11 is 11. Perform the operation. 1 times 11 is 11. And we get 0. Since we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms, what is the degree of the answer? 4. Because we are dividing degree 5 by degree 1. When we divide degree 5 by degree 1, which degree do we get? 4. Good. So the first one belongs to x to the 4th plus. The second one belongs to, very good, plus. The next one, 11x squared plus 11x plus 11. And there is no remainder. You can write it as 0 over x minus 1. There is no need, though. Well done. Yes, please.
How do you divide? What are you dividing to get the first one? The first one. One.
I'm not dividing, I'm copying. That's the procedure. We are copying the leading coefficient. For the first one, it's mandatory to copy the leading coefficient. Very good question, but we don't do anything to it.